said the meeting was over.
You guys got some internal thing going on right now.
I have to leave early.
Hey! Thought you were going to be late.
Yeah, I got my babysitter. She was taking care of it. I do want to have to leave early, so. Sorry about that.
How you doing, man? Good.
I did, but this.
Oh.
I just ran.
Oh, you did? Yeah, that's a good idea. I gotta start doing that again.
For about 2 days. My leg's been shaking.
Yeah, all right. You said this really kind of hurts.
Yeah. My wife goes out, rides a bike for 2 hours, comes back.
Friday. She doing train.
She's going to half Ironman.
Good for her. Oh.
Here.
Which one?
Good evening, everyone. It's practically 7 o'clock. Let's get our meeting started. Workshop meeting, that is. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Justice for all.
Great. That takes us to roll call.
Thomas?
Here.
Otto? Here. Westover's here. Engstrom?
Here.
Dockett?
Here.
Braun? Here. Chick?
Here. Okay, let's move on to the adopt the balance of the agenda. Is there anything that needs to be added or deleted? Oh, Wayne, go ahead.
The last meeting, we talked about the nonprofits, the events, getting and Chick or Otto brought it up, and I asked if we were going to do the other ones too, and she said yes. And then, so I voted for that. I supported giving back the money.
Can you speak up for just a moment until we get the air conditioner turned off? Because I can't
What's
hear
that?
anything.
He can't hear you because the air conditioner is on, so wait or speak up or wait till it gets turned off.
So I supported that because I'm in favor of that, but I asked if we were going to do the other nonprofits, and she said yes. Well, she tried to do it and got a second, but Howard decided that we had to have something rolled up, and I'm just wondering if we're going to talk about that tonight. I'd like to get it on the agenda.
We can talk about it, but, it is a workshop meeting, which we try not to make any votes.
I understand, but
I have no problem.
At the next meeting, it'll be a regular meeting, and we won't know anything about it.
So you want to, we can.
Now is the time to do it, unless Howard has something to add to that. I did discuss it with him, and he said that he thought that he would have it ready, or maybe, but it's not on here, so I'm just wondering.
Right. No, I'll have an ordinance prepared for the next meeting, but when we voted on it, everybody was in agreement with it. There seemed to be literally no dissension.
What was the agreement, Howard?
There would be no fees. There would be no fees for a civic event permit as long as it was a nonprofit organization.
Okay.
Everybody was in agreement. If there is some dissension, then we should put it on the agenda and discuss it. But otherwise, I'll just write the ordinance and we can
Okay.
pass it in 2 weeks.
What I said was that if they were going to sell to vendors, that, so we did discuss that. I didn't hear anything, but I'm willing to go along with it. I mean, any nonprofit will be able to do it as far as you're concerned, and the rest of the people. Is that right?
That's what I heard from the last meeting, but it's the board's call. If Mr. Dockett, if you have like a subtle nuance, if there's an issue that you want to bring up instead of it being nonprofits, but anybody who's selling to vendors, put it on. Let's add it to the agenda and have a discussion.
We can talk about it. Thank you very much.
Okay, so let's make it number 6, discussion of the civic event permit fees. Okay, anyone else? I make a motion to adopt the balance of the agenda. Ingstrom motion, Thomas supported. Those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. That takes us on to our next item, which is call to the public. It's an opportunity for anyone to get up and speak and tell us your thoughts and feelings. We do try to limit it to 3 minutes, and it is not a question and answer session. Do we have anyone that would like to speak right now? Great, thank you. We do have a second call to the public at the end of our discussion items. Board member comments. Is there anyone that has anything to say right now? Nope. All right, let's move on to our correspondence and announcements. Howard, do you have anything or anyone?
The only kind of announcement is a while back in my manager's report, there was talk about a particular issue related to a parcel split combination waiver, and Mr. Dockett asked me about that a few days ago, so I appreciate that. We don't have, it never kind of materialized in the office, an application sort of never materialized itself, but it was with a situation where it wasn't actually a split, it was a combination, and it was a situation in which the assessor wanted to combine the parcels. It was a situation in which there was a parcel, a house that split 2 property lines or split 2 parcel lines, and it's really sort of mutually beneficial to not only the property owner but to the township for those properties to be combined. Or, for example, you may have a house on one property and then the garage is split between 2 other parcels, and it really is kind of beneficial to have them all as one parcel, particularly for tax purposes and collection purposes, so that you end up getting one bill. You end up, if it goes delinquent, and it just happens to be a parcel that is sort of a vacant parcel that your actual house isn't sitting on, and it goes delinquent, you don't forget about it. And that was actually the situation that came into the office. I don't have it on the agenda tonight. I'm kind of not ready to discuss all of the nitty-gritty details of how that could work, but I wanted to let you know that at some point, in the near future, I'll put that on the agenda and we can talk about, if the board wishes and the assessor and I agree that it is something that's sort of mutually beneficial, do you want to waive that fee? Technically, right now, we have a combination and a split fee, and they're the same fee, but there are times when we want people to combine their properties and we don't want to discourage it.
Howard, I have combined property before, and I would never was charged for it over the years. So but this is not a split. This is a combo. Is that right?
Yeah, under our ordinances, the last fee schedule we passed, it was split combinations.
Yeah. Well, I would agree with you that we should do it.
Okay.
For no charge. I mean.
Yeah, in the next workshop or two, I'll bring back the fee schedule and we can kind of discuss any details that are sort of still pending out there.
Will that be splits also, or just a combo?
We have a fee for splits. Our fee for splits is $250, which gets you up to 4 splits. It gets you $250 that can get you up to essentially 4 properties, and then $50 thereafter. we did have that $250 fee has been around for a while, but the internal application had $200 on there. And so there was one entity that came in and we waived that $50 because it was in fact on the application and it was not updated.
Okay,
So,
but these will be separate. One will be a combination, one will be a split. Thank
right.
you.
Yeah. So I wanted to update you on that. Nothing pressing, nothing to do right now, but just to give you a heads up on that. Other than that, I don't have any other announcements.
Anyone else? All right. Takes us right to our discussion items, which is number 1, the various project updates.
So the big 3 project updates are the 2 non-motorized paths, if you will, and the Whitmore Lake Sewer Assessment District. Let's start with the Whitmore Lake Sewer Assessment District. Right now, we have all but a few of the easements for the Whitmore Lake Sewer Assessment District. There's really only one easement that's critical for the district in order for it to move forward. And that particular easement we have, but on the title work, there is a mortgage. There are 2 mortgages on those properties.
We don't have any paperwork on that, is that right, Howard?
No.
Okay, thank you. I'm
So
trying to find it.
there are 2 mortgages on those properties, and for those sort of in the legal area, technically, when you have a easement, you have to get approval of the lien holders, and the lien holders would be the bank that holds the mortgage. Because we don't do that for every single property, because we wouldn't really get very many projects done, because it can be a nightmare to get banks to sign off on a sense of easements. But for this particular one, we made the decision to do that because it was the critical easement related to the Whitmore Lake Sewer Assessment District. And it was the one easement where if we didn't have it and if it wasn't done correctly, it could really screw up the whole thing. Turns out we didn't need an assent to mortgage because the owner of the property has paid his mortgages. But it's not showing up in the title work. In the title work, it's still coming back that the gentleman has 2 mortgages. So we can't get clear title on our easement, and he can't get clear title on his land until we clear this up. Through the town. Now, this shouldn't really be a township responsibility, to be frank. This is the responsibility of the property owner. But we recognize that everybody wants the project to move forward, or at least give the chance for the project to move forward. So we are contacting the banks directly to try to get a assent of mortgage, which basically, or a discharge of mortgage, which basically means that the guy's paid off his mortgage. We have gotten one, which we got real lucky that we ended up getting one, and now we're working on the second, and we believe it's through PNC. We've elevated the issue pretty far to the top to try to get response. And as of today, I've spoken with one of their departments, and we think that we'll have this in a few days. We think. Now, keep your fingers crossed, because it's not easy to do this. PNC is not the original bank that the property owner had the mortgage through. The original bank that the property owner had the mortgage through was 3 banks prior to PNC, or 4 banks prior to PNC. And then they have to find it in their records that, in fact, the mortgage was actually paid off. So what we recently did today was actually send them the actual mortgage that we found in the title work. I'm giving you all these details because there are people out there that are asking questions, why aren't we doing the Whitmore Lake Sewer Assessment District? And the reason is because we need to dot our I's and cross our T's on this critical piece. And we're doing everything we can from the township's perspective to help the landowner, because really this is not our responsibility, it's his responsibility. And in fact, he needs all his paperwork if he ever wanted to sell his land in the first place. So that's where we're at with that. I'm hoping to hear something this week, to be honest with you.
Yeah, go ahead, Wayne.
Is this, oh, you said you have one, but you need another one. Is this one piece of property? You have one off, but is the second one on the same piece of property? Okay.
I think one was on the land and the other was a construction mortgage.
Okay, well, you did mention banks, and I'd like to, maybe the attorney, how about if they were a land contract holder? I mean, wouldn't they have to sign off if it was not a bank, if it was a land contract? I don't know.
They're both mortgages
They're
from
banks.
banks.
Huh?
They're
They're
banks.
both banks.
I know, but one if, you just said that the bank has to sign off on the property, but if it was a land contract, that's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, it's not a land contract.
I know it's not, but what I want to know is, if it was a land contract, it wouldn't be the bank.
It'd be the land contract vendor.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
So that's Whitmore Lake Sewer Assessment District. Now, I've spoken with Brian Rubel because at some point we have to move forward whether we get it or not. And there will come a time where if we can't get the discharge of the mortgage from the accessor bank to, what was it, I forget the name of the original bank. I want to say Bank of America, but it was not First of America. If we cannot get the sign off on the mortgage, we'll put it in front of the board, and the board can just make the decision if they want to move forward. Because at some point, we're either going to have to move forward or not. Now, I have talked to Brian. As long as we advertise by July, we should be okay for bidding this year and hopefully construction this year. So we're pushing to get something done in the next week here, and then hopefully move forward with advertising for bids, and then we can decide if we're moving forward with the project or not, from a cost perspective. So that's where we're at with Whitmore Lake Sewer Assessment District. There's one other easement that we need from that, but it's not a critical easement. We can bid without it, and it doesn't. The project isn't predicated on it. The non-motorized path, I went on Friday, and actually prior to Friday, a week prior to Friday, I went and made my first knock on the doors to tell people that we were going to come by and ask for easements. And everything went well. I didn't think there was going to be any issues. I knocked on the doors on Friday, set up some appointments for folks that we did need easements from, and I still have faith that we're going to get the easements that we need, but it's not going to be as easy as I initially thought. So I just wanted to give you a heads up that I have made initial contact, and not everybody that needs easements is so gung-ho about giving the easement for the non-motorized path. That, while it's unfortunate, it is pretty typical. We'll keep pressing forward. I'll keep giving you guys updates as to where we are with that. Same situation, though, on Whitmore Lake Sewer Assessment District, in that we need to get the easements wrapped up pretty shortly here so that we can bid. And unfortunately on that project, there are sections where we have to have the easements, otherwise we can't fit the path in there. So we're working on some plan Bs from a design perspective, just in case, and we'll go out to the property owners again with more drawings. So that's that. And then lastly, the Main Street sidewalk project is in the same process, but it's in the beginning. We're still in the design phases. We haven't received design back, and when we get design work back and we get title work back, then we'll go to the easement section. But we haven't even reached that point with the Main Street sidewalk project. Sorry, those were very long updates. Oh, thank you.
Are there any other project updates?
Not unless you guys want an update on anything else. I've already taken up a bunch of time.
Nope. Wayne, go ahead.
Howard, we've known about this motorized path for a year or more. I'm wondering why we're just now getting to the, it takes that long to get to the stage to ask people for, to cross their property. I mean.
Yes, because you have to first design it, and you don't know where your easements are going to be located until you get design back. Well, first you got to go, first you design it, all right, and that will determine where the path is going to be located, where there's going to be, excuse me for a second, I apologize, where there's going to be conflicts, utility issues, drainage issues. Then you go get title work, and once the title work comes back, which took a little long in this particular case, once the title work comes back, then you can draw up the easements and draw up the legal language for the easements and then go ask for the easements. So yeah, that takes time.
Is there a problem where the shed was?
The shed is an encroachment. So the shed is not an easement. The shed's an encroachment. So whoever owns the property where the shed is, either it comes down or it has to come down. It's not his property. You know, just so everybody understands, because I've had this question asked of me, and it's not totally clear that everybody understands the difference, right? There's right-of-way and then there's easements. Right-of-way is actual ownership by a municipal entity, typically roads. That's why they call it right-of-way. And the county owns right-of-way or sections off the road for road expansions over time. Municipalities in Michigan, cities would own right-of-way because they would have control over the roads. So let's say you had Main Street and you thought to yourself, well, 20 years from now we may decide to expand Main Street, so if any business does any work on Main Street, we'll ask them for right-of-way now so that if we ever need it, we could expand the road. So that's actual ownership. Easements is essentially where the municipality is asking permission from a landowner to put something on their property. And so we're essentially taking a path and put it on people's land. And, you know, typically, although we all like sidewalks, when it comes down to a sidewalk in front of your house, not everybody wants sidewalks in front of their houses. And the fact that it's taken up a little bit of their green space or their front yard, there can sometimes be issues. So that's the difference between right-of-way and easements.
The issue is they have to pay for some sidewalks, and the other issue is they have to keep the snow off. So I can understand that.
Yeah, we maintain the path. So we take care of the responsibility of doing the path. Now, some communities, you are right. Some communities, when they build paths like this and they have easements, they do not take the responsibility of snow removal. But we have taken the responsibility of snow removal. So that's where we're at.
Then that takes us to number 2.
That's it.
Number 2 is our court enforcement update.
So Mr. Lenahan is in the audience. I know that the board a while ago asked for a update from Mr. Lenahan and his work. I've been really, really happy working with Mr. Lenahan, and we appreciate his hard work to the community. So I don't know, Bill, if you want to come up and kind of give a overview of what you've been doing over the last year and see if we have any questions.
Thank you for allowing me to have this time with you.
I don't think that's on.
That's better. Basically, when we took on this assignment, the mission is to get compliance and to resolve as many issues as possible without having to process it into the court system or do anything else. We've been very fortunate in being able to do that. Last year we handled 87 complaints. Of the 87, nearly 60 of them we were able to resolve. Some of them are going to be long-term because they are talking about tearing down buildings and doing some other things that need to be done.
Can you talk a little closer, please? Thank you.
Bill, you can take it out.
Okay. So that's where we're at right now. We've cleared up a lot of the backlog that was in the files, and some of them we brought forward last year so that we gave them a new number and processed them too. We've been able to resolve some of the issues by just talking to both parties. Other issues got as far as 4 tickets were issued for court purposes. Only 1 has gone to court out of the 4. The other 3 were settled before it got to court. Basically, we're going to be in court next week on a situation, permit violation that the gentleman feels he has a right to, so we've gone to the process of going to court with it. Other than that, basically, once the complaint comes into us, it's given a number and it's investigated, and if there is a complaint, it truly is a complaint, then it's assigned a number in the book. That's the 87 that we had last year. And then the process starts. The persons that are involved are given are either spoken to or sent a letter and said that there's a notice of violation of the ordinances, and then we try to comply with the ordinances as best possible in the best possible way for them and us. And basically, as I said before, we've only had to write 4 tickets. So I kind of feel good about that, and I think that we can continue to cooperate. It's community enforcement, and we accept anything we get from the community with regards to it. We've also contacted those people on both sides of the issue so that they know what we're doing and that they also are aware of what their rights are. So if anybody has any questions any further than that, Mr. Dockett?
I just want to ask about, on the last page here, are these mostly complaint-driven, would you say?
For the most part, they are.
And
every once in a while, you'll come across something that I might see out there, and that's mitigated too, but we go through the same process with that as we do with complaints.
Yeah, and then if it's complaint-driven, you go out and see if there is a complaint.
That's correct.
And you make that decision, rather.
Yes,
yeah.
I do.
Okay. I noticed a few things on here that spikes my interest. Parking of boats and trailers, is that illegal?
It is to a certain extent if it follows the ordinance and it's behind the house or it's in the backyard or on concrete, it's not illegal. If it's not, then it becomes a process.
Okay. What was that again? Where's it got to be?
If it's not on cement or on a roadway and it's not parked behind the front of the house,
Okay.
then it violates our ordinances.
Recycle bins, trash cans, what's that?
Well, we try to make sure that people take them in after the garbage man comes by.
You try to make what?
Make sure that they take them in and don't leave them on the street for a week or 2.
Okay. And home businesses, what are no home businesses okay, or?
Well, normally in a home business, they'll notify us and they'll go through a process. If they haven't gone through the process, we can tell them about the process and allow them to go through the process so that they are legal.
Okay, what, is it something to do with parking and that type of thing, or?
I beg your pardon?
Vehicle parking, or what?
That could result from a home business.
Okay. And I got one on here that I really don't like, is the signs. I think people should be allowed to have a sign.
I don't disagree with you, but as long as they come by the ordinance, I'm happy.
Okay. A couple other questions. I asked these questions before when we found out. Do you have a car or truck, your own, or?
At this time, I'm using my own vehicle,
Yeah.
yes.
And do you have some kind of a sign on it that people know that you're the?
Not at this point, no, I don't.
Okay. And do you have an ID tag, or do you show them a badge, or you
I
show
have
them?
both, right.
Okay. And how do you give them a red tag, or what do you give them?
Hopefully it never gets to that point. I give them,
Running first.
first I talk to them. If I can't resolve it that way, then I send them a letter. If the letter doesn't work, then we may end up with a red tag.
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Do you intend to get a sign for your vehicle, or?
I think that's up, I think Mr. Fink is in the process of doing that right
No,
now.
I just think people ought to know, people ought to know who we are. If you're-
I have no problem with that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Under nuisance violations, inoperable vehicle, does it make a difference if it's a licensed vehicle or not?
Yes, it does, but normally if it's a licensed vehicle, it holds more promise that they're going to get it fixed than if it's a non-licensed vehicle or a vehicle that's sat there for over 20, or over, a year, 2 or 3.
So either way, it's still a violation, okay. All right, and I really appreciate all the work that you're doing, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Bill?
Does everybody like the,
Yeah, looks nice.
yeah? All right. Go ahead. What?
What do we like?
Because if you're putting this on a magnetic thing,
Yeah.
you're
Oh, that's gonna be the sign?
you're gonna have to be careful of the edges,
Oh, sure.
because it may not all fit the way, when you put the magnetic signs in there. So you may want to just put everything, center it.
Oh, okay.
I've done it before, it's kind of hard, because it does have edging when you go to put it in.
Sure.
If you go to send this like this, it'll cut everything off.
All right, okay.
Thank
I'll
you
make
again.
sure
Not
that-
being critical.
No, 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 I'll
Marketing
make sure.
wise,
Yeah, no, I'll make.
There is secured edges.
Right, right. No, I know exactly what you're talking about. I'll make sure that there's plenty of space on the margins. I know exactly what you're talking about when you do printing, and it literally just cuts off the ends.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'll just make sure that the printer is well aware that that there's plenty of space on each of the margins.
Jackie, did you have anything else? Okay. Anyone? Thank you for coming tonight. Appreciate the update.
Oh, nice.
All right.
Or granddaughter? Congratulations. Good luck.
Okay, that takes us to number 3, library allocation.
So, as was in my manager's report, and pretty much the same language that's in my memo, that I don't know, a few months ago, Rick had sort of done a look at the library allocation. He updated the numbers. He indicated that he is spending a little bit more time on the library issues and kind of reports and things of the nature that he does than he initially thought. He increased that allocation. I recommend that we not change, this is my personal recommendation, that we not change the amount of the allocation for this year, that we look at it every 2 years. And I thought that was, fair, instead of to go through this every single budget year, to do it every other year. And if we were to do that, then this would be the second year of the first look at the library allocation fee. So that's my recommendation, is to leave it be for the current year. The library members of the library board are here if there's any questions, discussion that anybody wants to have, if they want to have, or if we want to have, I suppose.
Go ahead, Wayne.
Well, I didn't get this until late Friday afternoon. So, of course, they were closed on Monday. I wanted to talk to Rick about this because I wanted to make sure I know what I'm talking about. I don't know, but I was unable to do that. But I looked through here, and it looks, for one thing, it looked like the controller is up in the wastewater treatment plant, $5,866, from what I can understand by looking at some of this. And several other, it looks like he's charging the police department more, the fire department more. So why would we not charge, the library should pay their fair share, in my opinion. They get millage from the taxpayers of Northfield Township to support the library, and if we're going to raise it for the other, just like I said, the sewer plant, why wouldn't we, we're raising everybody else, why are we not raising the libraries where I'm at?
My personal opinion is that I don't disagree with you in principle. But
Excuse me?
I don't disagree with you in principle, but my personal opinion is that because it's an external organization and an external entity, and they have their own budget process, it seems to me that going through this every year would be a bit laborious. That's my recommendation is to look at this every other year. That's my thought process. I don't think there's going to be that much fluctuation looking at this every 2 years as opposed to every year.
Well, it looks like it's over $2,000 more.
There's no question.
And
it's over
why are
2,000.
they different than our wastewater treatment plant? I mean,
It's just my recommendation, Mr. Doctor.
well, I disagree.
That's fine.
Yeah. And the reason I disagree is if we're charging everybody else more, why would we not charge the library? I mean, I don't like to pick winners and losers, so I just think it's fair that they pay their fair share. That's my opinion. Thank you.
I understand, Mr. Dockett, what you're trying to say, but in all retrospect, when we charge the other divisions or the other departments, we actually know what the costs are in each of those departments. The library doesn't know exactly what the costs are. If they wanted to, I mean, they could come back at us and say, we want a cost analysis of everything that you're putting into
We
those
want what?
percentages. We want a cost analysis of everything that you're putting into those percentages. And I don't know if we want to get that granular.
Well, if the wastewater plant's going up $6,000, I can't see why the library would complain about going up $2,000. That's
And last year was more of an estimate versus, and it's been a full year that they've been able to track it. So,
That's what I was going to say. I appreciate the fact that we've been through a year of this and they've actually been watching the time, as previously they had
But we
not.
almost doubled it from the time before.
But we didn't know.
Right.
Yeah,
We didn't know.
We didn't know, and now I think we have a better idea. And I'm wondering, do we do cost analysis for all the other divisions or departments, or is, I mean, why would we do it just for the library?
I'm just saying because you would know more what all the other departments are doing. They have a better understanding of what those dollars are. The library doesn't know what comes into those costs. They're not part of the township, so they would not be aware of it.
the sewer plant didn't know either until right now.
Is
All
there-
the other ones, like I said, I couldn't talk to
Well,
Rick.
for me, I
couldn't
would
talk to Rick.
question the overhead of the hall and grounds. I know J&M did not get an increase in their rates. Why are we increasing it?
But
We
the
don't
police
have
department
we don't
did.
have hall and grounds to the library. We took out hall and grounds to the library last year.
Oh, okay.
We do not charge the library for. I almost.
Then why did he even put it in there?
It's
If
zero.
we're not charging them.
It's if you take it all the way to the right.
Yeah, I do. I understand that, but he also showed it as an increase. So that's why I thought, why is that mute? But he also included 3% increase for everybody, and the board hasn't even agreed to it.
That's just an assumption.
I
It's
know.
a budgetary assumption.
I mean, this is a 24% increase.
I'm not recommending
Yeah.
that we do it this year. So I'm recommending that we
I mean,
keep-
if any of your utility companies said that you were having a 24% increase, I'm sure you wouldn't be silent at it either.
right. But we know that it was an estimate from the year before, so.
So if we did it in a kind of a step, I mean, if we had to increase it, if we could, and I assume that these estimates the costs were validated, as opposed to just doing a 24% increase, could you do it in steps over maybe 3 years?
You know, you can do, the board can do whatever they would like at the end of the day. From a fair and equitable standpoint, whether it's 24% today or 5% tomorrow, I think you're going to have this debate every 2 years. If you do this every 2 years, I think you're going to have this debate every 2 years because the costs are going to change in the office. The staffing changes, the salaries of those staff change. For the most part, the time spent should stay the same. They should average themselves out, over a year or two. But the costs are going to fluctuate because the individuals are going to fluctuate.
So I guess I should have asked because I hadn't heard. Is the library disputing these?
I'm not sure that I've really heard from the library at all. I think that I'd like to hear what their position is. I've heard from Zaley, but that's it.
There we go.
Hello.
Yes, hello.
I'm Margaret Niblock. I'm the Northfield Township Area Library Board President. Good to see you guys again. I just wanted to explain a few things that are going on at the library now, which might help explain some of the percentage changes that are going on. We are in the process of putting on an addition to our building. So when Rick says that his numbers are going, or that his time spent is going up to 7.5% instead of 5%, that's going to be the majority of where that is coming from, because he's got to do more work to make sure that our budgets and our line items are in the right places, money's being allocated to the right people at the right time. That project is estimated to be completed at the end of 2016. So that's kind of in the middle of the fiscal year 16-17. So I would think that there would be there's going to be some fluctuation there. But if you do switch to a 2-year discussion agreement on fees, you would see that kind of balance out between this year and next year. Let's see what else. The only other thing we had questions about was in the breakouts I have from Rick, right page here, that says what his annual wages is $59,046. That's incorrect on the admin fee for 2016-2017. He has listed $60,219. So if that's correct, let me know. If it's not, let me know. Does that look?
There's no page numbers on here. It's pretty hard to figure out where we're at.
I don't know what you're referring to.
Here, I will give you my copy.
Over here, it shows $59,046. And over here, it shows $60,219.
Here's this page. 1617. Here's the controller's number.
I have that.
Do you have that one?
I think I do, but.
This is just what we're working off of.
I'm not sure.
There says 57,321.
Was it not in there?
I'm not sure.
Okay. I know, yeah. Yeah, this is just what I have.
It's fiscal 16-17 probably includes whatever I was talking about, the 3% cost of living.
Yeah.
Do you have it?
That's exactly what it is, because the annual wages is $54,850 in the 2015 budget fiscal year, and the 2014 budget fiscal year, the annual wages is $53,248. So there's a difference of $1,600. Now that changes the FICA amounts because 7.65% of a higher number is higher. So that's assuming that a 3% raise is 3% cost of living raise is given, which Rick didn't actually. I don't believe Rick got last year.
No, but it showed for last year 57,321.
Mm-hmm.
And this one, and the breakout, it shows 59,
Mhm.
26.
Right, that's
But
assumed.
then it shows a 60,219.
Where's 60,219?
Right here.
For 16, 17. It's very confusing.
I still don't see the 60,000.
This is what I got from in the packet.
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we can check that number.
Yeah. That would be great to just
Yeah,
double
that's
check it.
fine. Well, we can double check that number. There might be an error.
This one's not dated, Any other questions, concerns?
Could also include Medicare and Social Security. That's probably what it is.
Anyone have any other questions?
No, I'll just say I stand by my statement. I believe they should pay their fair share, and everybody else has to pay their fair share. So why wouldn't the library do it?
I agree with you. Wayne? Anyone else? So, Howard, do you need this on the agenda for, to make, if we want to go with the 2-year plan, do you need that on the meeting in 2 weeks?
You could do it, it's up to you guys. You could do it separately as a separate agenda item. I probably would recommend that at this point so that you can have a separate conversation if you want, or you can just do it as part of the budgetary process. Given the dialogue back and forth, I'll probably ask that we put it on as a separate agenda item. Yep. Huh? Yeah. That's fine.
All right. Thank you for your time this evening. Appreciate it. Let me see. Takes us to number 4, and I just want to let you guys know I do have to leave at 8 o'clock. So if we are still talking about our number 4, the RFP planning consultant, can someone jump in?
I will go quick. I tried to write a incredibly unbiased RFP that I could. I tried to explain who I felt was Northfield Township, what we were looking for, and I just want to indicate what's in my memo, that no matter what I write in that document, it's going to be critiqued, and some people are going to like the way it reads, and some people aren't. I did my absolute best to be as unbiased as I could in writing a RFP that reflects what we're looking for, without pushing in any one particular direction or another.
I personally read through this at least twice, and I think you went the extra mile to stay as neutral as possible, and it's a good document.
Thank you. If everybody's in agreement with it, I'll go ahead and start advertising tomorrow.
Wayne?
Who did you think was going to not like it? I mean, us or these people that are voting are bidding on it?
No. Whether or not the growth, no growth debate that exists in the community.
Oh, okay, all right, thank you. That's all I
no, it has nothing to do with.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Well, that was fast. Okay.
Well, you said you want to go at 8 o'clock. Maybe something's good on TV.
Okay. Any other questions, comments on the planning consultant? No, okay, well, that takes us to number 5, and I think this one is going to take longer than 12 minutes. So, number 5 is our budget overview.
The budget's not much different from previous years. What we've done, what I've asked Rick to do, and he does a nice job of summarizing the budget changes from year to year. I've asked him to focus on the significant increases and decreases as opposed to going through this thing line item for line item, which is just laborious and not necessary. But we're 30,000 good to the black approximately. Those change up and down over time. As you know and have learned over the last few years, there's always unspent appropriations in line items, and so you're more than 30,000 to the black. You don't know exactly what that number is, but you know that 9 times out of 10, you generally have unspent appropriations in line items. So they do include the cost of living increases in the budget. They do not include raises, and people will get raises. I'm a firm believer in, you do good work, you should get rewarded for it. I know we talked about in the past the sort of step increases. We're not moving forward with the step increases, but I am going to look to that as a guide, if you will, to where I think is appropriate for employees to be in terms of wages. So that'll be coming in the next month. I still haven't gotten everybody's review done, so I'll do reviews, and then before the budget is finalized, I'll make recommendations and what I think is appropriate increases for folks.
Is there any more discussion on that? No?
I know that I'll jump ahead to Tim. I know that Tim has already put his increases in for his employees that he thinks appropriate, not cost of living. We're not talking about 3%. We're talking about getting the people up to the level that they should be at for the work that they're doing and the time that they've been here. And so I know that that's already built into his budget. I have not yet done that on my budget end. I want to go through evaluations first before I think about that.
Wayne?
Well, the sewer plant's got a $93,500 increase, and it looks to me like they got a salary increase of $10,818. A few months ago, when they got their raise, they all got $10,000. Now, looks like a few months later, they're getting another $10,000. If I understand this correctly, I see these increases all throughout the police department, fire department, and everybody else. Looks like, I don't know what's built in here if for that kind of money, if you're not, you say you don't have what, the cost of living's in here?
For me, for the general fund, the cost of living is in the budget. I don't know if Rick put anything more than the cost of living in the budget, but I will be doing evaluations and looking at increases for individuals.
Well, I mean, there's no page numbers on here. It's very difficult to follow this, but the police department's getting raises. The fire department.
Police department and fire department are union negotiated, collective bargaining.
Well, they're still getting more money because the taxes go up, and Mr. Wagner probably should not be negotiating. I think he's the worst person in the world to be negotiating. He's the best person in the world, but the worst to be negotiating these contracts. He's on the police and the fire.
Actually, Mr.
He shouldn't be doing it.
Actually, Mr. Dockett, but Mr. Chief Wagner and I both negotiate the contract.
I know, but he shouldn't be doing it. His people are the ones getting the raises.
And I'll take the heat off Mr. Wagner here. In truth, when it comes to the money aspects of the contract, that's my purview.
Well, that's not the way it looks here. Thank you.
I don't know.
Well, Wagner should not be. He should not be negotiating these.
Well, it's not it's just, I'm
Well, you
sorry,
just said he was. You and him are doing it.
it's not possible for Mr. Wagner not to be there. I can't negotiate a police contract not being a police officer.
A
it's
police
not
officer
possible.
shouldn't be there.
Well,
You negotiate your own contract? I don't
it's not his
understand.
contract.
He is a policeman, isn't he?
No, but he's not governed under,
Well,
he's not in the union.
He's an officer of the law.
But he has a separate salary that the board does his increase.
Well, it just doesn't
not
seem right
a
to me.
contract.
All right.
All right.
You know, guys, the budget's strong. We continue, I believe, personally, to be in solid financial footing. I believe when July 1st rolls around, June 30th, you will see that we will be in the black, close, but in the black for the preceding year, and that includes all of the things that we've done. Purchase of the Darlene Curtis property, various things that we've done throughout the year. I think what you will find is that our budget effectively supported it. It will be close, but I believe you will be in the black, and your fund balance will not have decreased at all from when we initially talked about that 85% number, and it'll probably go up a little. So I think you're still, in solid financial footing. In fact, there's a survey that came out from the University of Michigan, and they talked about fund balance of communities, and 85% is way, way, way up there. Typically, you know, if you look at the averages, you know, the mean is probably more in the 30, 40, 20%. I'm not suggesting we go there. I'm just saying that you guys should be feel good that the township is in solid financial footing from the perspective of reserves in the bank. And I know that on the fire department side and the police department side, I can speak more for the fire department side. We are working now on kind of creating a long-term capital improvement plan so that we make sure that the fire department side is on good financial footing as well. And we're putting that on paper. Mr. Wagner can talk more about the details if he's ready. I don't even know if he's ready to go over that, but we're working on that.
Just because you got more money, you don't have to spend it, Howard.
No, Mr. Dockett, and we actually haven't spent it. That's the point,
Well,
is that we actually...
You just said you're gonna, well, you're looking at all kinds of raises here.
But Mr. Dockett, we've gone up in fund balance. We have yet to go down.
I'm looking at the people paying the taxes. All I'm saying is you get plenty of, just like I said, they're getting another $10,000 over there. I don't understand it.
I'm sorry, Mr. Dockett. I can't manage in any other way. I believe if you have good people, you need to pay them at going rates. And, you know, I look at that young lady in the purple who, you know,
take care of the taxpayers too.
Huh?
Take care of the taxpayers too.
And you're right, Mr. Dockett. And I'm starting to realize that we really do need to think and consider about the taxes in this community, and you're absolutely correct. But the general fund budget is not the solution, is not the answer to that question.
All right, well, I don't think we're going to ever complete that debate, are we, Wayne? Anyone else have anything? All right, let's move on to number 6, which is the civic event permit fees. Wayne?
Well, I just want to make sure that I understand what this was all about. If everybody else is agreed, or they think we agreed on no one paying the fee, if they're tax exempt, then I can live with that. But I don't want to pick and choose people. So who would pay it? Howard?
No one.
Okay.
I mean, typically
we don't have any.
We don't.
Anyone. Okay.
We don't have an organization. We don't have a
okay,
for-profit.
they're all tax free.
So far.
Very good.
Now, the only question I have is, and you have to decide this because we're going to put it in ordinance form, and I want it to be clear: 501c3 or nonprofit. There's a difference. Okay, it's not so easy to get a 501c3 status. So be very clear as to what you guys want.
Both of them.
You gotta have one.
You got to have one.
You have to be a nonprofit in the state that you're in order to get 501c3 status. So if you've got 501c3, you are by definition a nonprofit.
All right, so I think we're all in agreement with the nonprofit, correct? Okay. So
What about 501c3?
They're all ready.
But what if they're only a nonprofit?
Right. You can just be nonprofit and not have gone through the steps of getting the 501c3. Personally, I think it should be a requirement to be a 501c3 because 501c3 returns and submissions to the federal government are public documents, so that there's some transparency there. Just being a nonprofit status with the state of Michigan doesn't require any of that, doesn't require a single federal filing. So 501c3s are generally a little bit, are thought to be a little bit more formal than a simple nonprofit.
A good example is the backpack program. When we had it just as a backpack program, not under any umbrella of anything, we didn't get any funding. We couldn't hardly get anything because we were nonprofit. Once we became under the Salvation Army, it's a totally different.
I would say we should do them both. That's my opinion. Whatever.
Just nonprofit,
Either one.
because you can be a nonprofit and not be 501c3, but you can't.
I
go the
understand.
other
That's
way.
why I said do them both.
Both. So nonprofit. is
Huh?
what I said.
He wants, if you're a nonprofit and you're not a 501c3 and Mr. Dockett says it's free. Right.
What would you say, Howard? Talking. I didn't. I said, why pick and choose? Either all of them or none of them. You said there's no one else that's out there. So.
But are you saying that if you're just a nonprofit and you're not a 501c3, that there's less transparency about what happens with the funds? Okay.
There's no transparency.
Okay.
I think they all help the township out. That should be our contribution to the people of the township.
I'd be a little bit worried about some of the organizations not having gone through 501c3 can be difficult to get.
Well, let's think about this. Let's go through the list. Is the Chamber of Commerce a 501c3 organization? The school is definitely, whether it's considered a 501c3, it's a tax-exempt organization. Meet on Main is through the Chamber. The 4th of July is through Kiwanis, which is a 501c3 status. Right, and that's right. And
Wanda's has a foundation that is a 501c3.
And no,
Not
fireworks. The fireworks
is not Kiwanis.
Is the fireworks a 501c3? That's probably the only one I'm not sure about.
What about Pond Hockey?
Pond hockey's a 501c3. I
Are
bet
you
you.
sure?
Yeah, I'm almost positive of it. No?
I don't think they are.
I don't think they are. They're probably just I think they're not profit. I'm not sure if they're 501c3.
As much money as they bring in, because if you're just a nonprofit, you can't get a tax deduction when you give money.
That's right.
So as much money as they bring in, I mean, they generate hundreds of thousands of dollars. That means none of those donations are tax deductible?
They all are tax deductible.
No, they're only tax deductible.
Howard, you don't understand accounting. It's obvious.
Okay.
You don't have to be able to deduct taxes if you are not operating for profit. If the money that Sam takes in for fund money, he passes out. If we're gonna have a discussion, it should be at the.
That's not the point, Chuck. The point is for giving money to the organization,
The donors.
the donors.
Yeah, so if I gave $100 to the pond hockey, I can't write my $100 off on my taxes at the end of the year.
Unless the pond hockey's a 501.
Unless they're 501c3. That's
But they work on receipts. Come to the mic, Chuck. For donations.
The Michigan Pond Hockey Sports Charities, MPHSC, is a 501c3 nonprofit charity.
yeah, I figured it was because it's just too big
According
for
to
it
the
not
website.
for it not to be. Because, like, let's say in the pond hockey example, let's say Labatt's Blue sponsors the pond hockey, and as part of that sponsorship, they discount that sponsorship by $10,000. They can't discount that sponsorship by $10,000 and write it off on their taxes, and unless the organization is a 501c3 status. So when you're taking in that kind of money, you have all the incentive in the world to get it done. Or in the case like small Kiwanis organizations, they go under the umbrella of a larger foundation so that the donor can receive a tax deduction.
Yeah, fireworks is 501c3.
Okay.
Okay. Yep. So we're safe with 501c3. Okay. All right. Perfect. So will that be something we're going to do for the next meeting? Do we have to vote on it? Yes, okay.
I'll rewrite the ordinance.
Okay. All right, so Marilyn has left the building. That takes us to the end of the agenda. Second call to the public. Anybody like to speak? Okay, so we are at board member comments. Wayne?
I'll remember our vets out there and buy and use local services if you can and support our community. And if we're going to have any new hires, I would like to suggest that we try to get local people from Whitmore, Lake, Michigan, rather than foreigners. Thank you. By foreigners, I mean people that don't live here.
Thank you. So we are at adjournment. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
A second.
Okay, good evening. Thank you.